Welcome back to the Maelstrom, ladies and gentlemen. We have another Warhammer 40k battle report for you today. 2,000 points as the first codexes of 9th edition square off Blood Angels versus Necrons. We have 8 objectives scattered across the table. Today we are going into the onslaught missions and playing all-out war. We slightly scaled our battlefield down to represent the 2,000 point level and made the objectives closer together. You score 5 points if you control 2 or more objectives, 5 points if you control 3 or more objectives, and 5 points if you control more objectives than your opponent. So those are the 8 objectives. We will be fighting over those with the Necrons coming from the far side of the table and the Blood Angels coming from where I am currently standing. That is the table. We will be right back with the armies.
So today I will be fielding a battalion. It is led by a Primaris Captain, which is my Chapter Master, a Primaris Chaplain, which is my Master of Sanctity, and Chief Librarian Mephiston. For my troops, I have 10 Assault Intercessors and 2 squads of 5 Tactical Marines. For my elites, I have a squad of 10 Scouts with camo cloaks and sniper rifles, a squad of 5 shooty Terminators with an assault cannon, and 5 assault Terminators with 2 Thunderhammers and 3 Lightning Claws. For my heavy supports and dedicated transports, I have 2 Bell Predators with assault cannons and heavy bolters, a Vindicator, and an Impulsor with the Iron Hill Heavy Stubber.
Alright, that is it for the Blood Angels. We will be right back with the Necrons. Alright, for the Necron half today, we're going to be playing the Sautek Dynasty. For our Warlord, we have an Overlord who has also taken the Hand of the Farron Requisition Stratagem to give him two passes at My Will Be Done each turn. For his Warlord trait, we're running Hyperlogical Strategist so that we can roll a 5+ each time we spend a CP, and if we make that 5+, we get that command point refunded. The other HQs for the army, we have a Royal Warden and we have a Technomancer who is running with the +1 to hit upgrade so that he can babysit our Doomstalker for this game. In the troop slot, we have 2 squads of 19 Warriors with Gauss Flayers, and we have 10 Immortals with Gauss Blasters. Then moving into our elite section, we have a squad of 10 Deathmarks. I'm super excited with their new weapons and stratagem. Want to see how they do. Then in our heavy support choice, we have a Canoptic Doomstalker, and we have 3 of the new Locust Heavy Destroyers armed with the Gauss Destructors. And then we have a Ghost Ark for our dedicated transport. And finishing things off in the elite slot along with the Deathmarks, I did forget have the Catan. He is the Catan Shard of the Nightbringer for this game. And for his powers, he has Gaze of Death, of course, and Antimatter Meteor. So that is it for the armies, and you have seen the table. We will be back as we get stuck into the Maelstrom. Alright, initial deployment is complete. The Necrons went for a complete deployment. Everything's on the table. Down here we have our Deathmarks and Immortals along with half of the Warriors. Then we have our 2 characters in the center. We have the Overlord and the Royal Warden, along with 3 Locust Heavy Destroyers and the Nightbringer. To the right flank, we have a Ghost Ark, another squad of Warriors, the Cryptek Technomancer, and then the Canoptic Doomstalker. I'll turn it over to Eric now to walk you down the Blood Angels half.
So on this flank, I have a Scout Squad to hold the objective, the Combat Squad with the squad in the middle to investigate sites. On each flank, I have a Tactical Squad to lay fire support. Kind of excited to see how they do with the 2nd wing. And in my middle, I have the main chunk of my army with 2 Bell Predators, my Impulsor with 5 Assault Intercessors, and the Primaris Chaplain. Primaris Captain, Mephiston, 5 Assault Intercessors, and Vindicator in the middle. Both Terminator squads are Teleport Strike.
Big wad of hurt coming straight up the center. All right, so that is initial deployment. Dice for first turn. Necrons have a 4, and the Blood Angels have a 2. The Necrons will take the first turn. We will be back after they launch into action. Necron turn 1 rolls to an end. For this turn, our command protocols were Protocol of the Sudden Storm, and we took +1 to move for that. So these guys were flying for Necrons this turn as they were surrounded by leaders with the aura as well. Moved the bulk of our infantry into the ruins with the death marks moving along the side to get shots through the gap here. The Catan moved to the flank along with the heavy destroyers. And then we moved our Ghost Ark up to engage the scouts while these guys moved forward to engage the scouts against them. And this guy, of course, stood still because we wanted to debut his cannon and see how it did. So these guys fired here and killed 4 scouts. The Ghost Ark matched that, killing 4 of the scouts here. And then the combined fire of the Immortals and half of the Death Marks killed off all of the Assault Intercessors. And we did 3 wounds to his character in spite of... What's the relic you've got?
Angel Artifice adds 1 to my save.
Yeah, 1 to his save. So, I mean, he was still sitting on 3s, and he still took 3 wounds after all of that. The Catan killed 1.5 Marines off with Antimatter Meteor back here. And then we fired 1 warrior at the Vindicator to set off methodical destruction. The rest of the warriors fired at the Predator. The Predator took 1 wound. Vindicator took none. But we did put methodical destruction and extermination protocols there just to make sure we killed it off this turn. And the Locust Heavy Destroyers did come up and destroy it. 2 of their shots got through and destroyed it. Would have had all 3 through, but with the new Vindicator rules where it gets +1 to its save against melee, he was able to shrug 1 of those off. Or against range, not melee. The Doomstalker then fired into the Bell Predator, leaving it at 3 wounds, and that was the extent of the shooting for the Necrons this turn. So, Eric, you got a couple of morale checks, right?
Yep.
All right, so we'll go ahead and roll those up. We got the scouts here against the building. Pass. And the scout here. Does not care. All right, so the Blood Angels are getting ready to launch into action. We will be back once they are done.
So everything in the middle of the field moved forward. Cast Might of Heroes on my Chaplain and Psychic Scourge on the Warriors. Managed to bring 2 of them down. Played Orbital Bombardment over there and brought the Overlord down 2 wounds. The Royal Warden down 3. Killed 3 Death Marks, a couple of Mortals, and a couple Warriors.
Yeah, Orbital Bombardment's definitely better than it was. Tons of carnage. What else you got?
Bell Predator shot into the Locust Heavy Destroyers and brought 1 down to 1 wound. Odd Fire brought down the last one. Other Bell Predator fired into the Warriors and brought a handful of them down. And all my Plasma Pistol shot into the Ghost Ark, bringing it down 4 wounds.
All right, so still trying to figure out if I like this new reanimation. It was kind of cool here. It did springboard me into 3 inches of this objective. But down here, all this carnage, no answer for it. So I'm still trying to decide if I like that. Overall, the book, though, does seem a lot stronger, so I'm willing to give that a little while longer and see. What combats did you have?
My Primaris Chaplain and Mephiston are charging into the Ghost Ark, and my Impulsors charging into the Warriors.
All right, Warriors are in defensible terrain and have set to defend. So we got close combats to work, and then we will be back.
So Mephiston and the Primaris Chaplain managed to bring 4 wounds out of the Ghost Ark, and my Impulsor didn't do anything.
Yeah, Impulsor did nothing. Took 3 wounds in return, but made his armor saves. The Ghost Ark did use Quantum Deflection again, and that's what kept most of those wounds out. Mephiston did manage 4 wounds, though. So that is it for turn 1. The Necron response in 2 is coming up next. Necrons are up to the fight phase. For our turn, we drew Protocol of the Conquering Tyrant for our protocol this turn, which is the one that we get both of as a Saltec army. So we added 3 to the range of all of our aura abilities, and 3 to the range of My Will Be Done, The Lord's Will, and Rites of Reanimation. And then we also were eligible to shoot if we fell back, which did come in handy because we did fall back with the Ghost Ark. The shooting phase was kind of crazy. Before we got to that point, the Catan moved up here, used Gaze of Death, and did 1 mortal wound to this tank. He then used his ability to throw a second power. I forget what it's called now. It's what Wrath of the Catan used to be. I forgot to mark it. But it gave him an antimatter meteor, which punched 3 wounds out of the Impulsor here. We then moved our Locust up this flank, the Warriors up while still holding the objective. And then the Lord used his Resurrection Orb. He got 1 of the death marks back because I thought we need some extra sniper shots. The Royal Warden let these guys fall back from close combat without the penalty. The Ghost Ark did take the penalty for falling back, but was able to shoot. And these warriors continue their march forward with the Cryptek staying close to them, but also staying just in range to give this thing +1 to hit. We started our shooting off with this thing into Mephiston since he was separated, and scored a grand total of 3 wounds, one of which he shrugged. The Immortals, the Relic Gauss Blaster from the Royal Warden, and the snipers fired into Mephiston, and he was still alive with 1 wound. I thought he was going to escape. At that point, we used 2 points. Methodical Destruction to get more of this thing shots through, scored 4 wounds, one of which happened to get past his 2+ save. And Dice made things right finally. He felled his 5 up and finished Mephiston off finally after shooting him with all of our army. Chaplain did emerge completely unscathed from that, however. These warriors, some fired here to absolutely no effect. The ones that could fire fired here to clear this objective of the scout. And our Staff of Light from here was able to punch a wound into this Bell Predator. On this end shooting, these warriors fired up into the Bell Predator and cut it down. The Locust Heavy Destroyers fired across and destroyed the Impulsor. And now we are charging with the Nightbringer. He made his charge into the Assault Intercessors. We got combat to work there as the Catan drinks from the souls of these humans, hopefully. And then we will be back. All right, the Catan with a command point reroll was able to slaughter all 5 Assault Intercessors and continue his move towards the Warlord. The Space Marines turn 2 is coming up next.
So both tactical squads came out of their firing positions to try and secure some objectives. Captain moved forward to try and charge the Immortals, ended up just shy. The Chaplain did move forward and he's charging into them. My shooting Terminators dropped, used Fury of the First to shoot them and brought 1 down. And the Assault Terminators are charging the Death Marks.
Yep, did need to use a reroll there to make that charge, but he did get in here. We also used Etheric Interception from the Death Marks and killed off 1 of the shooting Terminators as they came into play. You also did 7 wounds to the Doomstalker? Is that right?
Something like
or no, 5 wounds. Put him at 7 wounds. That was from heavy bolters here mostly, and I think the Assault Cannon did 1 or 2. So we got some combats, and then we will be back.
So my Chaplain managed to kill 1 Immortal, and my Terminator Assault Squad managed to bring down 2 Death Marks.
Yeah, that was insanely bad. The Chaplain scored 3 hits, right?
Yep.
And then re-rolled his 2 1s and rolled 2 1s again with Litanies of Hate. And then rolled 2 1s for his 2 of his 3 attacks. And then the Terminators, the Lightning Claws wounded me 5 times. I made all 5+ saves. The Thunderhammers punched down 2 guys. I made 2 more 5+ saves. And then I put 2 wounds in a Terminator. That was terrible dice rolls for the Blood Angels in close combat. Unfortunately, that does happen sometimes, but that was rough. Necron, turn 3, coming up next. Necron turn 3 is up to the fight phase. The Royal Warden allowed the Immortals to fall back and still shoot. The Royal Warden then fired into the Chaplain, did him 4 of his 5 wounds, and the last was cut out by the Death Marks. We did use Veil of Darkness to leave combat. We teleported the Overlord and his Death Marks down to this flank, and the Death Marks then fired in and finished the Chaplain off. The Immortals, coupled with the Ghost Arc and these Warriors to fire into the Assault Terminators. We killed off the Lightning Claw guy and 1 of the Storm Shields and got the Sergeant down to 1 wound. The Doomstalker then fired in here and killed off 1 of the Terminators. He did grow 2 wounds back this turn, as did all of our characters and vehicles, because we had Protocol of the Undying Legions active this turn. So that did help some get some wounds back into place. Our Locust Heavy Destroyers moved up here and fired on the Bell Predator, scored 1 hit, or 2 hits, 1 wound, and then punched it down to 4 wounds total. The Warriors, then the back half of them rapid fired, leaving it at 1 wound, and the other half fired into these Marines, killing off 1. At that point, we tried to charge in with the Overlord and failed, so we are charging back with the Warriors into that vehicle. And then the Catan slid around in the backfield, used Gaze of Death to kill off that scout, and is now charging into the Captain. So we will be back after we have worked those combats. Combats roll to an end. The Ghost Arc used Quantum Deflection with our last command point to prevent these guys from killing it. Hopefully, we did manage to keep it in the fight with 5 wounds. Did no damage to them in return. Down here, we did nothing to the Bell Predator, and it missed with its return stroke. but the Catan did gut the captain, feast on his soul, and then move in this direction to help continue with the fighting. So Blood Angels turn 3 will be up next.
So both tactical squads, one fired a crack missile into the Catan, dealing him 3 wounds. The other fired a crack missile into the Locust heavy destroyers and killed 1. Bolter fire went in, but didn't do anything. Terminators fired into the Immortals.
Yep, Terminators fired here. Killed 3, made all 3 reanimations. Ridiculous. But Catan did just take 3 wounds because of his new rule, which definitely makes him feel like he's worth that huge price tag. So he did just go down to 6. Instead of eating that second missile, which I think you rolled a 6, right? So that would have completely smashed him off the table. So definitely appreciating that Necrodermis rule right now. We got combats.
So the Terminators and Terminator Assault Squad managed to clink a couple wounds out of each tank.
Yep, got the Ghost Ark down 1 wound, this thing down 5 wounds, no damage in return. The Bell Predator survived again and squashed 1 warrior who immediately reanimated. So that's it for turn 3. Necron turn 4 is next. All right, for this turn, the Necrons had Protocol of the Vengeful Stars for their command protocols. Anytime we rolled a 6, it would increase the AP of that shooting attack by 1. So most of our fire down here, we moved the Ghost Ark to block against these guys in case we couldn't kill them. Reformed this block of warriors. Between them and the Immortals, we were able to kill off all of the Assault Terminators. These warriors fell back from combat. Deathmark stood still. They helped here. They were able to headshot the Storm Shield guy with a mortal wound and let the rest of the wounds go to the Lightning Claws. Here, we fell back from combat, and the last of our fire went here. The Locust Heavy Destroyer fell back into cover since he's the last of his squad, fired downrange and blasted one of the Terminators out of his boots. The Staff of Light wasn't able to get anything done from there. We used Gaze of Death to kill off 2.5 Marines here. And attempted a charge, but failed that charge. However, the Overlord is going in with his Void Scythe here. We're going to work that combat, and then we will be back. Combat rolls to an end. The Overlord went in and punched this guy out with his Void Scythe. At that point, the Blood Angels are going to go ahead and tap out with a remaining 6 Marines and a handful of Terminators. There's just not enough left to score enough points to make up for the difference. That will be a victory for the Necrons in the debut between them and the Space Marines for their new codexes. So many things to like in the new Necron books. Feels so much more powerful than it did before. Unfortunately, we did not get to see much out of the Space Marine book because his stuff did die so fast and could not get any of his to hit or to wound rolls to connect. Quantum Shielding in particular feels really good now. Kept me out of some situations, or helped me survive some situations that I normally would not have. And also actually kind of like the way reanimation protocols work now. They're going to take some getting used to, but I do think they have some potential. If you like what you saw, make sure that you give us a like and a subscription. That is the most important metric on YouTube for us. And check out the links in the description to this video to see our Instagram and Facebook pages if you're interested. Make sure you hit the bell after you subscribe and turn on notifications so that you can see all of our new content as it comes out. As always, guys, thanks for spending time with us today at the Maelstrom.